Graphically, that's what the time zones look like when you take a look at it on a map. Generally, they change about every 15 degrees going across the United States. You will notice, though, that in some states, there are areas where the portion of the state is in one time zone and another portion of the state is in a different time zone. Good example is North and South Dakota, Nebraska, and parts uh, of Missouri. The United States, or the continental United States, has four time zones. As you can tell, we have Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. And their difference from GMT is anywhere from 5 to 8 hours. So technically, Eastern time zone, when it's 7 o'clock at night, you subtract 3 hours, and that's what time zone it is, or time it is in the Pacific time zone. There's also some additional time zones for Alaska, Hawaii, the Virgin Islands, and some other of our protectorates like Samoa, Guam, or Puerto Rico. You can see them listed here. You're probably asking me right now, but I'm in the United States. Why would I care about Puerto Rico? You'd be surprised at how many data centers are located in Puerto Rico or in Hawaii that are set to their local time there. Places with special time zones. The following states that I have listed here are two time zones within them, and it's usually split down a county line, but that's not always the case. There are areas where you can cross a street and you're in a new time zone. Good example would Beacon Hill in Mexico Beach, Florida. If you cross a street, just 18 feet of asphalt, you're not only in a different city and time zone. One would be Eastern and the other one is Central. So can you imagine what happens at 2 o'clock in the morning when the bars are supposed to close? Everybody gets up, they go across the street. Hey, it's 1 o'clock, another hour of partying. There have been cases like that in the United States in which a city would actually extend the amount of time they were selling alcohol till 3 in the morning just to prevent the people from walking across the street and giving all that tax revenue to a different city. So, international time zones, they can get even more complicated. As you can tell in looking just at this overall graphics, how a time zone can stretch to the right and left based on islands, or within a country it'd be stretched out or made smaller just to accommodate something special. I love the down under country. You take a look at the map on the preceding page and it looks like everything's pretty well situated and true. But here's an example of Australian's time zone map. Notice that you're correct. They can be in the center part of the country. They have the Northern Territory and the Southern Australia, and they're an hour difference. But they're in the same longitude. Does that make any sense? Or they could be a half hour apart, such as the Northern Territory from Queensland. That's only a half hour difference. So where you go to places you need to research and find out within that country where that computer was located, what was the time zone it was in. And then on top of that, what time of year, because it may or may not have been daylight savings for that area. I know, we're going to skip the rest of the world for right now because it can even get more confusing as you go into China and Russia, let alone Europe. But like I said in the prior slide, when you're researching time zones, make sure you go in and look at the time zones for the country and the city that the computer came from. Because as you can see, even the city can make a difference if it's in one time zone or another. What is daylight savings time? It was actually first proposed by Ben Franklin as a way of extending the day for people to work in the fields. But basically it begins in the United States at 2 a.m. on the first Sunday of April. It reverts back to standard time on 2 a.m. on the last Sunday of October. And all time will change at 2 a.m. local time. In the European Union, daylight savings time begins and ends at 1 a.m. UT, or Greenwich Mean Time. It starts on the last Sunday in March and ends the last Sunday in October. In the EU, all time zones change at the same moment. Think about that. Now we have the United States with daylight savings time at one period of time. Then we have Europe that does it at different time events. See how complicated daylight savings is going to start making our lives within the computer world, or cell phones, since most cell phones actually timestamp to the local time zone they're in. Can you imagine having a cell phone that forgets about daylight savings? What does it do? As if daylight savings wasn't complicated as it was. Of course, Congress has to get involved to really make it really complex and complicated. Back on August 8th of 2005, President Bush signed the Energy Policy Act of 2005. This one act changed the dates for daylight savings time in the U.S. beginning in 2007, so that daylight savings began the second Sunday of March and ended the first Sunday of November. They want to see what kind of an impact this would change on energy and energy production in the United States. Once the Department of Energy study is complete, it goes back to normal time, changing daylight savings dates and times, which it is today. So think about that in your forensic world. You have a computer. Do the acts or the logs reflect a timestamp during this one period between 2005 and 2008? That was in the George Bush daylight savings time period, or did it occur outside of that? Because you could have a date in which there was daylight savings during this period, and if it was 2009, it would not be in daylight savings. Yes, this can get complicated quickly. Oh, I know. Let's make it even more complicated. Let's say that in some places we do not observe daylight savings time. Places like all of Hawaii, or Samoa, or Guam, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. There is no daylight saving times in those locations. This is my second most favorite one that's out there that makes things complicated. Daylight saving time is there inside Arizona. So daylight saving time is observed in the Navajo Indian Reservation in Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. It is not observed anywhere else in the state of Arizona. So only the Indian Reservation has daylight savings time. The rest of Arizona does not. The Hopi portion of land in the middle of the Navajo Reservation does not observe daylight savings time either. So Arizona does not, the Navajos do, but the Hopi do not. Take a look at that map in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide. You'll see the red for Arizona, the blue for the Navajo tribe, and the little red in the middle for the Hopi. So you could drive for 10 minutes and be in and out of the time zone 3 times. And you thought that was complicated. How about Indiana? Before 2006, 77 of the 92 counties did not change. Those are the ones you see here in white. But 15 of the counties did change, and those are the ones you see in yellow, and the ones in blue. And now that it's after 2006, all of them change. But here's the best one. After April 2nd of 2006, daylight savings time is in Indiana. Every Indiana county observes daylight savings time. But of course somebody had to be different. So you have 8 Indiana counties, those listed here. They moved from the Eastern time zone to the Central time zone. So what used to be 3 o'clock in the afternoon became 2 o'clock in the afternoon after the move. So as you can see, when you start adding up zones, daylight savings, the format, it can get somewhat complicated. So that's why you have to always remember sit down, figure out where the time zone is. Are the logs in the local time zone? And if so, convert them to UTC. To help with this, there's a really good web page, which we've listed on the slide, that can help you navigate your way around the world in different time zones. Did they have daylight savings or not, etc. So
what can happen if you get a time zone wrong or the conversion of time zone wrong? So what happens if you get it wrong? Ooh, good example. Palestinian terrorists in 1999. The bomb went off early. Now that's getting it wrong. As bombs were being planted, they exploded 1 hour too early. They ended up killing 3 terrorists. Okay, well, maybe that's not a problem. But it can be a problem if it was somebody de-arming the bomb.